Masters of innovation.
Looking towards the future with anticipation, raising up the technological conversation from the east to the west and all across the nation. If knowledge is the cure, then we got the medication. We're the masters of innovation, the masters of innovation. We're the masters of innovation, the masters of innovation.
Welcome everybody to this special episode of the Masters of Innovation. We're here with the cutting edge knowledge you need to reconceptualize the world you live with. As always, I'm Garrett Wagner, your Entrepreneurial CPA channel co-host, and the man who keeps his feet normally pretty firmly planted on the ground. And if you've watched the show before, you know who my co-host is. It's the man who knows it all, the master of everything, Joe Brunsman, CLP Brokers. Joe, how you surviving in lockdown life?
Good. So, whiskey and my personal, what'd you call it? Like inquisitive obsession of conspiracy theories. I love conspiracy theories, and that has been getting me through these dark days.
So, Joe, let's help you get through the dark days. Because something we're talking a lot about in these times is you got to help yourself first. And I think, Joe, for you, you're getting a little stir crazy. I've been talking to you. So let's hear this passion of yours, conspiracy theories. And I think one of the biggest ones I hear you talk about the most, and you got an open platform here, you can dive into this, my friend. Share this knowledge with a new audience because they might not know this, and maybe they will think of you differently after this. Hopefully it's not terribly bad. You are a huge conspiracy theory fan overall, and you love those alien conspiracy theories, don't you?
I love alien conspiracy theories. They are both like intriguing and absolutely hilarious. And probably the reason I like them the most is I actually think about them like as I'm watching these like crazy videos, right? Or listening to these people and they're like supposed, firsthand person testimonies talking about this stuff. And it's really interesting to watch these videos and just look at these like crazy leaps of logic that people make. So like as I'm watching this, I'm thinking about, what are these leaps of logic where people they just take something for granted. Best example of this, I actually watched this episode earlier tonight as I was eating dinner. All right, you ready for this?
Well, I am sitting down, Joe. My feet are on the ground. I'm ready for this. Let's see what it is.
Okay. So there was this geologist / engineer, and at some point in the 70s, he was part of this government project to build what's called a deep underground military base, which I spent 12 years in the Navy. I've never heard of these. I've never seen them unless I'm part of the conspiracy. No, I'm not working for the government, but I don't think these things exist.
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry to break it to you. I'm actually part of their civilian task force on that, and yeah, we met last week. The bases are good. They're fully stocked, and they haven't been impacted by COVID. So just a little inside knowledge for people that are in on it. The bases are fine.
Good. That's good to hear. So this guy, he's in like Dulce, New Mexico. It's like middle of nowhere. And he's drilling this hole into the ground. And the guy was apparently a geologist / engineer. And he was contracted to work on this project. So apparently the drill bit kept breaking, like it was hitting something really hard and they couldn't figure it out. And so for whatever reason, somehow they lowered him into the hole to see what was happening. So he's getting lowered, he's lowered. And then he ends up, believe it or not, and I would probably not believe him, in an underground alien city.
Okay, I got some questions. One, is this like a handheld drill, like a Black & Decker, like little handheld drill, or what's the drill look like?
So they didn't show the actual drill on the TV show. I'm assuming it's something like what they had to make the channel, right, from England to France. I presume it was something similar to that. But it does get better.
Well, hold on. Well, you're the leaps of logic. So if this drill bit is breaking, doesn't that mean there's like a barrier there? And if he went down there, shouldn't it just be like some substance and not like he goes down there and just like, boom, holy shit, like, yeah, it was trying to drill here, but all of this is just like city. And like the drill was just hitting this one impenetrable spot, but everything else is just like, oh, wow, like I'm here.
Well, obviously the aliens, because they're here, right, they can break physics, obviously. So somehow he ended up going through whatever, I guess, tiny hole was there maybe. But then it gets better because then apparently he's face to face with these big gray aliens, right? Like, like the big heads and like the black eyes. I
just watched the movie Cowboys versus Aliens, and I think it explains some of this.
Definitely in there.
Totally.
So then, for some reason, this geologist / engineer boring a hole in the middle of New Mexico with like nobody around. The first he can think of is he pulls out a sidearm, which I don't know how many holes you've dug in your life, but generally like having a firearm on your hip is probably not the thing that you would take into a hole with you. Like you'd imagine it'd be test equipment, flashlight, a lantern. Somehow he had a firearm. So then he shoots this alien, right? Which, now, if you came face to face with an alien, there's probably a lot of questions you'd want to ask. Like, how'd you get here? What are you doing? Right? I mean, there's probably a million things you'd ask. You probably wouldn't just shoot him. That seems a little crazy. Somehow you're in a hole in the New Mexico desert with a firearm. That apparently leads to a full-on firefight because somewhere out of nowhere, they lower down just a ton of troops. Because obviously, I guess there's troops at dig sites. I've never seen that, but apparently that's how they roll in the 70s. So then this huge firefight ensues. And then the guy is talking about how he's face to face with this alien, as you would be. Mm-hmm. And the alien like wipes his hand over his chest and this laser beam shoots out at the guy, hits him in the chest, explodes his ribs, cuts off a couple of his fingers with this laser beam. And the only thing to save him, Delta Force from somewhere, because I'm sure, Delta Force just hangs around dig sites.
Okay, so
Delta Force guy comes in.
So also, Joe, here, so the aliens have lasers and alien technology, right? Those are two things that it established. They've got those. And then somehow the 1970s military with their physical ammunition is holding them at bay. Is that what I should be believing here?
100%. Obviously, this is a true story. Obviously.
Okay.
So then this Delta Force guy, who somehow comes out of nowhere, pushes him out of the way, dies from the laser, and then somehow this geologist engineer guy gets pulled up to the surface, and they save him. And then, but wait, it gets better. And then they patch him up. And then, like 20 years later, decides to come out with this story. And there's all these videos of him. I forget the guy's, it was like Patterson maybe. It's something weird like that. I'm sure if whoever is crazy enough to watch this video Googles like underground base alien fight, I'm sure it'll like pop up. And there's like the grainy VHS videos of him. He's talking about how, he's very scared to talk about this, which is precisely why he's going to talk about this. And then,
so do the aliens live? Do the people die? What happened? So literally, there's going to be this huge firefight. There's military there. There's Delta Force. There's all this stuff. The aliens have lasers. somehow the guy's chest exploded, but he's still alive. Is that the same guy with the chest explosion in the hands? But it didn't.
Yep.
It didn't kill him. So clearly, the lasers are like powerful, but not that powerful.
That powerful.
A direct shot from a laser by advanced aliens isn't going to kill you. He made it out of this, and then what? It all got swept under the rug, and the aliens are just kind of still there, hanging out.
Oh, we don't know. That was the cliffhanger to the story. But he does end up. There was some dispute there about committing suicide versus like he actually got killed because there was something wrapped around his neck, and like his family demanded an autopsy because he died after he came out and was like talking about this to the UFO conspiracy group people somewhere with their terrible VHS camcorders. But it's funny to watch this, right? Because the people who were narrating this, like they're so serious about like this happened. And then he was struck by a laser. Totally glossing over the fact, why did this guy have a firearm in a tunnel? Like, were the mole people going to attack him? So he had to like, he just thought to himself, you know, I better bring some protection here because, you know, going into a tunnel that I just made could be dicey. It's just preposterous.
And it's also
I love that stuff.
just like who makes up this story? You know, where does that come from? So Joe, let's ground this in a little bit of reality here. How did your passion become conspiracy theories? How do you kind of get into this ethereal world?
So I'm just like kind of naturally like a really curious person. So there's really only two questions that are unanswered, that are, I guess, potentially unanswerable. One is, are we alone in the universe? And two is, what happens when you die, right? So people go to church to try and figure out what happens after you die. I watch crazy conspiracy theory videos to see if we're alone in the universe. So it's just super fascinating for me because I love looking at like these stories and trying to figure out, okay, what are the leaps in logic here? Same thing happens when I read the news, right? So like you can read a news story and you can just take it at face value, which is what I think a lot of like the conspiracy theory people do, like the Eddie Bravos of the world. Great jiu-jitsu guy though. Much respect to Eddie Bravo. But you start looking at these conspiracy theories, it's insane to me that people just take these at face value with just even some really basic questions. Like the whole premise crumbles, right? So it's kind of like, if anybody took a logic class in college, it's kind of like the same idea, right? So you start like deconstructing arguments, trying to figure out, okay, what are the holes in this argument? What are they not covering? What did they glance over? It actually is strangely somewhat useful in my line of work. You know, dealing with attorneys, dealing with legal paperwork all the time, you know, insurance contracts, policy language, kind of all that stuff. It's kind of the same line of thought, but it's like a fun way to do it. It's a fun way to train the mind. Keeps me going.
What is it? You know, a lot of times people's passion outside of their work kind of like tangentially or directly, indirectly relate back to it. And that's kind of the underlying story behind this is, you know, it's great in this time of lockdown. We're feeling frustrated. Do something that excites you. Do some kind of self-care, no matter what it is. And then don't be afraid to share your passion, no matter how esoteric it is. So, Joe, thank you for sharing your passion about conspiracy theories. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hope you had some fun. Take this knowledge, share it with others, watch the video, or just kind of say, hey, I'm not interested in the alien angle at all. So thank you for tuning in to this special episode. We wish you the best. And why don't you ponder Joe's two questions to wrap it up? Are we alone? And what happens when the lights turn off? Take care, everybody.